Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've obviously snagged another amazing interview, and I know I say that often, but I totally mean it, and I've had the chance to just interview multiple people, and I'm going to be uploading these things left and right. But with that, I've actually had Josh Tolley on before, and so I had to bring him back. Because he was just a mound of wonderful information. But he is a radio talk show host, if you guys don't know who he is, and you have the Josh Tolley Show, correct?
Yes, yes.
But he's been conference speaker, author, just too many things, business, you've done business books. And,
oh yeah?
The whole 9 yards, just an incredible, incredible guy. So with that, Josh, I guess I want to just kind of go right off the bat.
Sure.
Because you study politics and you study Bible prophecy and you study business, you have that good overall agenda and you kind of know what's going on.
Thanks.
But where do you see the world headed right now? I mean, are we, with Donald Trump in charge, are we on uncharted waters, or what do you see happening?
Well, I think the uncharted waters analogy is pretty good, but I think we can tell the direction we're heading. So right now, we're in a situation where the Republicans are obviously not on board with Donald Trump. They have gridlocked the system. Internally, even as late as this week, we're hearing reports on how the White House is in disarray. There are factions inside. There's political party fighting internally. So his White House is really kind of messy. The party itself is messy. The Democrats see blood in the water. And what's crazy is the Republicans should have had this locked up. And that whole Ryan Care vote just kind of nailed it. Because not only did Ryan Care make Obamacare worse, but Donald Trump went after his own party because it didn't pass. And not because the Ryan Care and his allies wanted it to. It's because the Freedom Caucus, which is actually the people who helped get Donald in, are now the enemy. Donald tweeted last week, or a week before, that the Democrats and the Freedom Caucus need to be stopped in 2018. But what he doesn't realize is it's the Freedom Caucus and their followers that pushed him over the edge because the Republican Party didn't want him at all. So he's actually starting to eat his own tail at this point, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's only been 2 months and a couple days. But as of right now, this looks like a situation that's spinning outside of his control. And then you add into it what's happening with former generals and the intelligence agencies, and you have a situation where not only is he rotting from the inside in a sense, but those external forces, the deep state, the shadow government, whatever you want to call it, they're doing what we always predicted they would do. That they're going to fight from the inside, throw an internal coup, and that's what we're watching.
And I agree. I think there is definitely a coup going on. Now, I know that Trump has done some good things. He's signed the human trafficking, getting against the TPP, you know, stopping that, and multiple other executive orders that have been beneficial. So knowing that and knowing where we're headed with, I guess, Ryan Care, and I mean, it's just a mess right now. I mean, we need to repeal that altogether, and it doesn't seem the direction we're going in with that, unfortunately. Right. But with everything that's on the table, I mean, do you think there is a Trump card, if you will? I mean, do you think he's with the Patriots, not with the Patriots, if you know what I'm asking? Yeah,
I would say it's looking more and more like he's not with the Patriots. And one of the things that really kind of tipped that off, and I know this goes against a lot of people's perspective, because we thought, oh, Trump's the guy. But what tipped a lot of this off is that he's fighting fake news too. So we have both sides that are fighting this so-called fake news. In the NDAA 2018, they had the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act. That's not something he's rescinding. That's not something he's even spoken about rescinding in the next NDAA. So here we have this thing that really labels us as potential fake news, and both sides are fighting it, and they're just fighting over which side gets to win in defining what's fake, as opposed to the liberty freedom mindset of, no, it's not the government's job, period, to decide what is fake or not. That's up to the people. So they're really arguing over the same tool that's going to be used against us in some way, shape, or form. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. Even though CNN is 7 flavors of nuts, and I don't believe anything they put out, they should still have the right to do it.
Yeah.
Just like we should have the right to broadcast what we want to broadcast. So if any politician says, no, we have to set up a government agency to tell the public what is and what is not true, that's dangerous. I don't care how awesome the candidate seemed, that's dangerous. And if we are really going to be patriotic people, then we need to hold our own patriotic people accountable. We have to have that check and balance. And the more we dig into this administration, the more nervous or the more little red flags start popping up.
Now, I'll say, you know, I honestly think that Donald Trump is for the Patriots, but I think there can be a wild card. I don't know if that could, you know, I'm kind of taking it with a grain of salt, if you will.
Sure.
So I'm watching because I don't know that that's 100% either way, because it's so hard to tell. But at the same time, I do see what you're talking about as far as the media is concerned, because I have the same beef in that area. I do not like the direction that Trump is taking that.
Right.
And there are things I like and things I don't like. And I'm going to speak out about those things I don't like, and specifically in regards to media. And I have to say, as much as I hate CNN, just like you do, and all the mainstream medias, they should be able to speak their mind and say what they want. And I know that we can't label one in one area without saying taking the freedoms across the board. So if they're going to say you can't talk negative about the president, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, it's going to be all media.
Right.
It's not going to be just one media outlet. And so that's been one fear of mine with the Trump organization, the Trump administration. And I know that what I will say is that censorship has increased on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter since Trump has been in office. And there's two ways that could go. It could be, one, maybe he's not really who we think he is, or two, maybe he is, and maybe the left is pushing back because they're upset about getting a Trump in, if you will.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. And I don't think that YouTube and Trump are on the same page. But but what I am going to say is, let's say Trump's an awesome patriot. He's everything we hoped he would be. But he keeps this ability for the government to label news fake or not. Well, what happens once he's out of office?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the concern.
Point.
It's not, will this guy use the tool wrong? It's the tool shouldn't exist.
Yes.
Because it should be up to the community, the consumers of the media, to decide what they want and what they don't. And when we look at Trump, there's going to come a point where all of his skill set, if he can't get his party in line, that's going to come to a head wall. And there's going to have to be something that breaks. And that's where we get some concerns about, well, what unifies a broken population? What unifies a broken party? And that's where some people are saying, well, that's why we're starting to see saber clattering when it comes to North Korea. And that's a really interesting aspect, because as of right now, some of the executive orders he signed are awesome.
Yeah.
But just like we learned with Barack Obama, you can't run an entire campaign off of executive orders. That's not what we elected you to do.
Right.
So we need that cooperation, and that doesn't seem to be coming.
Right, and the thing with executive orders, just my personal take here, I mean, there's a system in place for a reason, and I think we do need to take it to Congress. And there's things that should be there and not just have the authority and power of one person. Because like you were saying, when we have one, like Barack Obama, he was passing executive orders that we don't like.
Right.
And so my fear is we can't really continue on that path. We have to have freedom and follow the rules that were originally part of this country, and no matter who's in office, because I think that our future is at stake, and our freedom is at stake. Yeah,
and even if somebody points out the difference, well, Barack Obama issued unconstitutional executive orders. Donald Trump is at least issuing executive orders that fall in line with his constitutional purview. You still don't want a ruler that rules by executive order. Exactly. You want to have Congress involved, because that's where we are supposed to, anyway, get that representation of the people.
I agree, 100%. Now, with that, and you had mentioned North Korea. So I know North Korea is like a wild card, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Or like a crazy person, if you will, flipping ready to go off at any moment. Where do you see North Korea? Is there some kind of play in that? What's your take?
Yeah, well, there can be, and that's where it's kind of a dangerous issue. So America is fed up with wars in the Middle East. We've been doing this since World War I, actually, and we're done with it. But nothing unifies a country like a war. Russia knows it, we know it, North Korea knows it, And if the country's going to continue to spiral downward, whether by Trump's design, which I don't think it is yet, or just by circumstances surrounding Trump, there's going to need to be something. And when Mattis came out this week and said North Korea has to be stopped, well, that's kind of like saying, well, it's not a green light yet, but it's a yellow light, like in drag racing.
Oh, yeah.
It went from red to yellow, and if we need it, we're going to pull it. Because everybody agrees that Kim Jong-un is an idiot. Like, he's just totally crazy.
Yeah.
And he's not helping himself by blowing up things.
Right.
So they have an excusable clause here. They don't have to do some sort of, well, they said there was weapons of mass destruction. No, we know he's blowing stuff up. He's saying he's blowing stuff up.
Right.
So they have an out. And they can just say, okay, we're at a war. And it'll at least help him going into midterms. Because if the Republicans don't get their act together by midterms, the Democrats are going to pull off an unprecedented feat, and they're going to win it back. Even though statistically you should be thinking, oh man, they're dead for 2 or 3 election cycles. Because the Republicans are so bad at what we elected them to do, it's going to give them an open window. So in order to prevent that, you need a terrorist attack, you need a war, you need a biological hazard, you need something where people don't focus on the politics and they focus on something more catastrophic.
Like a diversion.
A diversion.
Do you think we'll end up in war? Just your personal take, or?
Well, I think we've already been in it for a while, and we've been in denial about it. Because biblically, when you look at the term, there's wars and rumors of wars, and we see Jesus say that, we think, well, what's a rumor of a war? Is Lisa saying, well, I think there's a war over there, and there's not? That's not what it means. The actual and the history of the word actually refers to more of a confusion of war. So you have wars and confusion of wars. Well, right now, think about it. We are fighting Russia's interests in Syria, but we're partnering with them in Iraq. We're fighting against Al-Qaeda in Egypt, but partnering with them in Iran. We're fighting, you know, and Turkey's against Russia with the Kurds, but they're with Russia when it comes to Syria. So we have confusion. Literally an enemy, 15 feet that way we don't shoot him, 15 feet that way we shoot him, just because of the confusion of the war, and nobody really knows who we're fighting. So that's really what it means, wars and rumors of wars. And then you add to it that Russian troops are in Syria. You have had a lot of Bible prophecy teachers over the last few decades that said that the sons of Rosh, Russia, will come down from the north and they'll have a military presence in Damascus. Where do they have a military presence? In Damascus. The only thing that's left to happen is we bomb Damascus and Damascus falls.
A ruinous heap.
Right. And we thought, well, Trump's going to come in, he's going to become friends with Putin, happy days are here again. It hasn't even been 3 months, and Vladimir Putin says now it's actually worse than the Cold War.
And that's a red flag.
That is a huge red flag.
And if we look back to World War I, World War II, what started some of those is obviously secret alliances. You had alliances with some countries, and then they do a back deal. And I think that's where the confusion comes from.
Yeah.
There are alliances between countries, but when there's confusion there, that proves there's secret deals and secret alliances in countries. Things that started wars, world wars in the past.
And not to interrupt you, but General Michael Flynn's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Here you have General Michael Flynn, who went around the country talking about the dangers of Islam and how we need to protect ourselves against Russia. It turns out he's a foreign agent for Turkey, admittedly, filed his foreign agent paperwork. Then he offered, and everybody thought it was fake news because CNN broke it, but it turned out to be true. He offered if he could testify, could he get immunity? Well, this is the same guy who said anybody who asks for immunity is obviously guilty of a crime. Well, now he's asking for it. Well, then it comes out just this morning that he had $1.5 million of interest from a Russian contract he signed. So he's a foreign agent inside the White House, and most liberty, patriotic, biblical groups had welcomed this guy in to speak about what's coming. So even on the inside, this is why we have to be vigilant. We cannot be like the Barack Obama supporters. Barack Obama supporters, Barack won, and whatever he wanted to do, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're just going to turn a blind eye. And there are so many Trump supporters the same way. Well, Trump is going to get it. Don't doubt Trump. You know what? I want to believe in him too. And I hope he does, and it's new and I get it. But you still have to pick up the red flags.
You do. And I like Donald Trump. You guys know that. But we cannot ignore the flags that are there. And
Right.
so whether you like him or not, if we ignore some of the things that are red flags, I mean, and we might have a little different view on some things, but we both agree that there needs to be attention brought to the red flags. There's things that I didn't like he had Jared Kushner, you know, take his new division, which was fine. I think that's great. But what I didn't like is Bill Gates within that division. Now that's a red flag. You know, so there are red flags, and you know, we just need to make sure that we're covering all aspects of that, no matter what it is. And that's kind of the idea behind what you do, what I do.
Yeah.
Put truth out, whether we like what's going on, whether we like the candidate, we can't suppress the red flags.
Right.
And that's important to me, and so we have to cover everything. And you know, as far as Michael Flynn, I think there's that across the board. I mean, I don't doubt that other people within Obama's administration, Hillary's administration, I mean, it's rampant, because the corruption level and people that can actually get that high, you can't get that high without doing some type of corruption.
Yes, somebody somewhere made a deal. But the cool thing about what you were just saying is you're right, and not everybody's going to agree on everything.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd just vote for ourselves. But the reality is that by pointing out the red flags, you're not speaking against Donald Trump. You're not being
you're pointing
mean.
Truth.
It actually helps.
Yes.
And when he's talking about draining the swamp, well, great. Michael Flynn is somebody who should be drained from the swamp. We just don't want to turn it into the people of the swamp engage in a civil war with two different factions who were both originally there anyway. We want to get rid of everybody and put patriotic, liberty-minded people in there.
Yeah, it would be great if we could just focus on freedom.
Right.
And that's it.
That'd be awesome.
So, anyhow, well, do you have any last thoughts or comments that you want to share, and also share your website, how people can get a hold of you?
Sure. The website is joshtolley.com, JOSHTOLLEY.com. And I guess the final thoughts are, give everybody a chance, even a politician. There's always hope. As long as there's breath in our lungs, there's still hope. And just keep praying, keep looking up, because ultimately, if we learn to forgive each other, if we learn to grow, if we learn to keep getting information and not just taking it, but digesting it, turning knowledge into wisdom, the answers are ours. So, and keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome, you too.
I will.
Well, thanks again for tuning into my channel here. This is Lisa Haven and
Josh Tolley.
signing out.